minutes ago I saw you. You looked up when I came through the door. My head started reeling. You gave me the feeling the room had no ceiling or floor. 10 minutes ago I met you, and we murmured our how-do-doos. I wanted to ring out the bells and fling out my arms and to sing out the news. I have found her, she's an angel with the dust of the stars in her eyes.
We are dancing, we are flying, and he's taking me back to the skies. In the arms of my love I'm flying over mountain and meadow and glen, and I like it so well that for all I can tell I may never come down again. I may never come down to earth again.
We are dancing, we are flying, and he's taking me back to the skies.
In the arms of my love I'm flying
over mountain and meadow and glen, and I like it so well that for all I can tell I may never come down again. I may never come down to earth again.
Good morning, and welcome to First Unitarian Church on this Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine to all of you. And it is indeed intoxicating whenever Valentine's Day falls on a Sunday. It's just, David and Matthew and I are just possessed somehow by a spirit when that happens. It's a good thing. It's only every 6 years or so that this happens, but what I'm trying to say is that nobody's really responsible for the content of the program that you're about to see. We're actually going to bookend the service today. We're going to with some insightful words by David Brooks. He is by no means an expert on love, because I don't think love has any experts, but he was able to find some words that offer meaning. So I'd like to begin the service with his words. He said, if we look in its most passionate phase, if we look at love in its most passionate phase, we see that love does several key things to reorient the soul. The first thing it does is humble us. It reminds us that we're not even in control of ourselves. In most cultures and civilizations, love is described in myth and story as an external force, a god or a demon that comes in and colonizes a person, refashioning everything inside. Love is described as a delicious madness, a raging fire, a heavenly frenzy. We don't build love, we fall in love. Out of control. It's both primordial and also something distinctly our own. Thrilling and terrifying, this galvanizing force that we cannot plan, schedule, or determine.
Nonetheless, as disorienting as it may be, it is helpful to begin with some familiar rituals. And so this morning, we light our chalice. Symbol of light, symbol of knowledge, symbol of warmth, symbol of freedom. we light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. Here we gather to celebrate hope and the infinite possibilities of love. Please join me in beginning our service in song with hymn number 34, Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire. In that vein of being possessed by the Spirit of love, I offer these first words from Jonathan Smith, excerpted from a larger text Marvin loves, If This World Were Mine, found in a compilation of African American wisdom. Smith is a Chicago poet, pianist, organist of the 20th century. And he writes, "Love, God's infinite. Meditate on it. Meditate on God's infinite love. Draw close, encircle, cross arms, join hands, hold silence, and meditate. See love shine. Shine, walk right up to it. Rub it in your hand. And not just a precious and heaven sent, but a blemished, fallen love. Love imprecise and foul, sloppy, impious, blasphemous love. Love tainted and corrupt, even fallen love. Love, we say, can conquer. See love shine like a rock. Unlike swift and surgical hate, no matter how exact and even cleansing, hate has nothing on wonder, has nothing on wondrous, working love." And this next reading from Robert A. Johnson, from a fuller text titled "We, Understanding the Psychology of Romantic Love." He is a Jungian analyst, writer, and lecturer. And he says, "Many years ago, a wise friend of mine gave me a name for human love. She called it stirring the oatmeal love. She was right. Within this phrase, if we will humble ourselves enough to look, is the very essence of what human love is. And it shows us the principal differences between human love and romance. Stirring the oatmeal is a humble act. It is not exciting or thrilling, but it symbolizes a relatedness that brings love down to earth. It represents a willingness to share ordinary human life, to find meaning in the simple, unromantic tasks: earning a living, living in a budget, putting out the garbage, feeding the baby in the middle of the night. To stir the oatmeal means to find the relatedness, to value even beauty in simple and ordinary things, not to eternally demand a cosmic drama, an entertainment, or an extraordinary intensity in everything. Like the rice hulling of the Zen monks, the spinning wheel of Gandhi, the tent making of St. Paul, it represents the discovery of the sacred in the midst of the humble and the ordinary.
Our next reading by Carl Scoville really exemplifies stirring the oatmeal. It's really quite in graphic form. Carl Scoville spent virtually his entire ministerial career at King's Chapel in Boston, and is just a magnificent person. He's long retired now, but still producing some good writings. And this is one, 66 driving lessons and 5 road tests. It really describes how his parents stirred the oatmeal in their marriage. She was 70 years old and had never driven a car. But on July 25th, 1975, she went to the Rockland County Driving School and took her first lesson. Her husband had already had heart trouble and might someday be unable to drive. If that happened, she wanted to be the one to do the shopping and take him to the doctor. So she began the slow and painful process of learning to start, stop, turn, enter traffic, and back up. After 5 difficult months, she took the driving test and flunked it miserably. Poor engine control, poor steering, and failure to yield the right of way were reasons given. I made mistakes I never made before, ever, she wrote in her diary. The examiner was a dear gentleman and was not nervous. She took the test a month later and flunked again. I did everything wrong, she told her diary. Demonic. In August of 1976, she resumed the lessons with the Eton Driving School and took her 3rd road test in October, with half the world praying for me, she told her diary. Again, she failed for all the previous reasons, plus failure to use caution in approaching another vehicle. The examiner was raving, she noted. She took a 4th road test 2 months later and flunked that one. And on the next day, her husband was briefly, though violently, sick, and me without a license to drive, she wrote. With a learner's permit, she drove home from a Christmas pageant and smashed the garage door. When will this ever end? She asked her diary. She took a double driving lesson the next day and parallel parked 6 times. After 3 more lessons, she took her 5th and final test on January 21st, 1977, and passed. She had spent $860 on 66 lessons plus 5 road tests, and at the age of 71, she had her license. Her husband said, "Good, now I can have my heart attack." 3 years later, he did. For several months, she was the one who drove to the hospital, supermarket, pharmacy, and church. When we were children, our mother told us the story of the Scotsman Robert Bruce, defeated by Danish invaders and hiding in a stone hut, who watched a spider swing again and again, uncounted times, until he could stretch the thin thread of an incipient web from one rafter to another. Instructed by the spider's persistence, Robert Bruce left the hut, gathered his men, and defeated the Danes. My mother embodied this story. But it was not just persistence that moved her, but love for the man who was her other self. Do you want to know what love is? It's 66 driving lessons and 5 road tests and a very tough lady.
Love makes lovers worry, love makes lovers fret, but here's a fact on which we can depend. Just like long ago when Romeo loved Juliet, love is always lovely in the end.
Shannon, Romeo and Juliet was a tragedy.
Oh, I never read reviews. Love can start a quarrel, love can cause a din, but love has always been a trusty friend. 'Twas a happy fate for Hank the Eight and Anne Boleyn. Love is always lovely in the end.
I need to point out that Anne Boleyn lost her head.
Yes, she was in love. Love was good to Eve and Adam.
Here we go again.
Samson and Delilah, too.
May I ask a question, Shannon?
Yes, of course.
Why does nothing I say to you ever get through?
Don't mind if I do. Love can sneak behind you, love drops from above, but love would never consciously offend. Love has certainly been kind to me and my true love. Love is always lovely in the end.
But your ex-boyfriend was a brute.
I don't mean him, you silly coot. Love is always lovely.
Lovely, lovely, lovely.
Love is always lovely in the end. Love is always lovely in the end.
That's great.
Once again. It happened the first time, it happened again. In that same then vein of kind of a little bit more earthy kind of love, our next reading comes to us from the 19th century poet Walt Whitman, American poet, essayist, and journalist who was often critiqued as being obscene for the overt sexuality in his poetry. This one is an excerpt from When I Heard at the Close of Day. The day when I rose at dawn from the bed of perfect health, refreshed, singing, inhaling the ripe breath of autumn, when I saw the full moon in the west grow pale and disappear in the morning light, and when I wandered alone over the beach and undressing, bathed, laughed with cool waters, and saw the sunrise, and when I thought how my dear friend, my lover, was on his way coming, oh, then I was happy. Then each breath tasted sweeter, and all that day my food nourished me more, and the beautiful day passed well. And the next day came with equal joy, and with the next at evening came my friend, and that night, while all was still, I heard the waters roll slowly, continually up the shores. I heard the hissing rustle of the liquid in sands as directed to me, whispering to congratulate me. For the one I love most lay sleeping by me under the same cover in the cool night. In the stillness, in the autumn moonbeams, his face was inclined toward me, and his arm lay lightly across my breast. And that night, I was happy. Our next reading speaks also of romantic love, but from divine romantic poetry of a 13th century mystic, Mechtild of Magdeburg, from her text, Flowing Light of the Godhead, Poetry Between the Soul and the Divine. the soul begins, "Ah, Lord, love me passionately. Love me often and love me long. For the more passionately you love me, the purer I shall become. The more often you love me, the more beautiful I shall become. And the longer you love me, the holier I shall become here on earth." To which the Lord responds, "That I love you passionately comes from my nature, for I am love itself. That I love you often comes from my desire, for I desire to be loved passionately. And that I love you long comes from my being eternal, for I am without an end and without a beginning." And finally, Seduction by Nikki Giovanni, originally published in Black Feeling, Black Talk, Black Judgment. Giovanni, a 20th century and 21st century American writer, commentator, educator, and activist who is one of the foremost authors of the Black arts movement. Seduction. One day you're going to walk in this house and I'm going to have on a long African gown. And you'll sit down and say, "That black," and I'm going to take one arm out. And then you, not noticing me at all, will say, "What about this, brother?" And I'm going to be slipping it up over my head. And you'll rap on about the revolution while I rest your hand on my stomach. And you'll go on, as you always do, saying, "I just can't dig," while I'm moving your hand up and down. And I'll be taking your dashiki off. And then you'll say, "What we really need," and I'll be licking your arm. And "the way I see it, we oughta," and unbuckling your pants. And "what about the situation?" and taking your shorts off. And then you'll notice. You'll notice your state of undress, and knowing you'll just say, "Nikki, isn't this counter-revolutionary?"
By any chance, is anybody here from the baby boomer generation? Do we happen to have any baby boom? Okay, we have a few. Well, you're actually the audience for this piece, and I hope you look at it more as a public service announcement. It's got a lot of good information, actually for all generations, but it really zeroes in on the baby boomers. The author Joyce Wadler actually has a boomer blog, but this is not from her blog, a separate piece that was published not too long ago. She says, "I've been thinking about an extremely beautiful sex toy an old boyfriend got me. I think it's on my mind because he's having heart surgery this week. This is how it is at a certain age. When you hear about an old boyfriend, it's not because he got married or got a great job. It's because they're threading tubes into his chest and doing an ablation on his heart. This toy, which was silver and shaped kind of like a stylized banana. This toy was so complicated, I never used it. Also, you had to charge it for a few hours. It wasn't one of those things that charged with a discrete little light. It blasted O-shaped strobe signals across a darkened room that could have been used to direct an incoming airplane at a small airport. As I have a personal code that says you do not use a sex toy given to you by one man with another, yes, I do have a Puritan streak. I had stashed this thing in a big closet, which was like a deep space, Things go there and disappear forever. But now with the old beau's surgery looming, the toy, rather its disposal, was on my mind. This was a problem. It was not one of those unused household items you can donate to a charitable organization. They don't even take sheets. I'm an environmentally conscious person, but I couldn't see taking it to an old electronics day at Union Square. I could put it into the appropriate recycling bin on my floor, but then the neighbors might figure it out. It's her. All day, all night. I hear buzzing coming out of that apartment. No wonder she's always smiling. I might try to dispose of it with the kitchen garbage, hiding it with coffee grounds and dead things from the back of my refrigerator, as I do old tax reports. But then I'd be in violation of the recycling law. I know. I should have been one of those women who held out for diamonds. But disposing of sex paraphernalia, actually all those embarrassing items you've stashed around the house, is something every boomer should be concerned about. The days are dwindling down to a precious few. Do you want the people clearing out your house, particularly your children, to find these feathery, metallic, rubbery polymer blend items you ordered one drunken night a few months after you've been forced to take early retirement? Now, you may be thinking, what do I care what my friends or children find in the house? I'll be beyond embarrassment. I will be dead. But you are wrong. Doctors now know that the human sense of embarrassment can last up to 2 weeks after the heart stops. I know no one likes to think about death, but just as the responsible person designates someone to make medical decisions in case he or she is incapacitated, we should all have designated, let's call them eradicators, to come over and clean the house after we expire. Your eradicator should be given house keys, a list of items to be destroyed, and their hiding places. You don't want to be in the intensive care unit screaming, "Back of the sock drawer." They'll just increase your meds. The truly considerate person will dispose of potentially humiliating or harmful items the moment he gets really sick, like a married man I knew who gave his love letters from the other woman to a male friend before he went into the hospital. Then he got better, got the love letters back. Then he died, which was a big mistake on his part. Though I hear it made for an interesting moment at the memorial service. There's no excuse, however, for careless or improper disposal, such as my friend Herb and I were witness to many years ago in Greenwich Village, when we spied a sex toy in the street, not on the sidewalk, in the street. I tell you what it was, but I'm trying to stay within the proper guidelines for this column. But okay. I think it was an adult seesaw. Herb and I gaped long and hard at this thing, first debating the anatomical possibilities, and you wonder what friends have to talk about after 40 years. And then, as in the TV show Law and Order, we try to recreate the scene. Now, had there been a lover's quarrel during which this humongous shillelagh had been tossed out of a cab, well, if that was the case, why did the couple have this thing in the cab in the first place? Stealing a kiss in the back seat is one thing, but that? Had it slipped out of someone's shopping bag And then, even in the village, was he or she too embarrassed to pick it up? Awful, right? It's awful. And imagine how much worse it would have been if it had been spotted when I was walking with a child. What's that thing in the street, Auntie Joyce? It's a grown-up thing, sweetie. People buy them when they love each other very much, or maybe not enough. One day when you're grown up, a man will fall in love with you. And when that happens, bring up diamonds.
Well, will wonders never cease? I didn't like her, I couldn't stand her, I wouldn't have her, I never knew her, but now I do, and I could, and I would, and I know. She loves me, and to my amazement, I love it, knowing that she loves me. She loves me, true, she doesn't show it. How could she, when she doesn't know it? Yesterday she loathed me, bah! Now today she likes me, ha! And tomorrow, my teeth ache from the urge to touch her. I'm speechless, for I mustn't tell her. It's wrong now, but it won't be long now before my love discovers that she and I are lovers. Imagine how surprised she's bound to be. She loves me. She loves me. I love her. Isn't that a wonder? I wonder why I didn't want her. I want her. That's the thing that matters. And matters are improving daily. Yesterday I loathed her. Now today I love her. And tomorrow, I'm tingling. Such delicious tingles. I'm trembling. What the heck does that mean? I'm freezing. That's because it's cold out. But still, I'm incandescent. And like some adolescent, I'd like to scrawl on every wall I see. She loves me. She loves me.
Alexis Baigue and Shannon Musgrave. Thank you so very much. For those of you who may be visiting us for the first time this morning, we bid you a warm welcome and pray that you will come back and visit us again. Just have a couple of brief announcements. One, a reminder, 2 weeks from today, there will be no service here. We're going to celebrate our 125th anniversary at the Marriott Dance Theater on the University of Utah campus, very close by. Just go into the parking lot where the university bookstore is, and it's just to the west. Please be there. It's going to be a great, great program. One service only at 10:30. My God, how did we last 125 years with stuff like this? I don't know. Other announcements, we are, I trust you know, really exploring very deeply the reality of institutionalizing a second minister. So it's not just a treat for a short while that we have Matthew with us, but that we can actually make this a reality. This church is growing. The programming is just off the charts. We need a second minister. And so the Board of Trustees has a table set up in Elliott Hall. If you have questions, if you have comments, just want to snoop around, please go and talk to a board member and express your feelings about having a second minister as a reality in our church community. Also, it's really important to emphasize that our coming of age kids, they have a fundraiser going next Saturday, and it'd be wonderful if we can support them to the best we can. They are offering us next Saturday night a jazz and soulful food evening. So the music will be great, the meal fantastic, and this way we're able to not only lend our support to them, but really generate some great friendship and conversation with our junior high group. They're wonderful kids, and it would be great to get to know them better, and it'd be wonderful to have your support. I'm looking forward to it really very much. I'll be there on Saturday, and hope to see you there as well. Any other announcements? I think, yes, this Thursday, for those of you who are relatively new to the church, first time, second time, fifth time, or you still have questions about what this Unitarian Universalism is, Matthew and I will be hosting a UU orientation class in room 208, and hope that you make it. It runs on Thursday from 7 to 9. If you have children and need some childcare, please let us know so that we can have arrangements for childcare. So it would be wonderful if we could explore Unitarian Universalism together this Thursday at 7 o'clock right here in room 208. For now, the offering will gratefully be received, a chance to greet one another and wish each other a happy Valentine's.
Of course, no Valentine's Day would be complete nowadays without some explicit reference to issues of sexual orientation and gender and all of the yummy morass of alphabet soup that goes into the LGBTQIAA2, etc. So this next piece speaks into that space. It is from a larger collection called Pomosexuals, as in postmodern sexuality, challenging assumptions about sexuality and gender. I commit the entire volume to you. It's slim and dense and wonderful and playful and rich and challenging. And this essay in that selection is called Les Frics c'est chic, les fags qu'elle drague. Written by a professor at Clemson University in South Carolina, D. Travers Scott, who is also director of graduate studies and communications there. He begins, "My boyfriend and I just moved to the gay ghetto. Now, I've never really lived in a gay ghetto before. but I find it's easy to shop here. Proudly queer clothes and videos and even churches, snacks, meals, coffee, books, magazines, and music glare from every shop window. Homo propaganda is everywhere. It's in the form of banners and badges and posters. It's like some rainbowed 1984. And it's all for sale. You have an endless supply of ready-made identity signifiers. All the mass-produced knickknacks to show off and celebrate your oh-so-uniquely you queer identity. Camp, retro, kitsch fashions and furnishings abound, and Urban Outfitters is so much more convenient and smells better than trudging through Goodwill. Genre and Out magazine, I'm just reading what's on the page. It's not always PC, folks. Genre and Out magazine are so kind as to provide handy shopping guides, so we don't have to search boutique after boutique to find faux antique photo frames and gay-themed screensavers and rainbow electric toothbrushes. For the first time since I was 16, I received a copy of International Mail in the mail, addressed to me, and I didn't order it. I think it automatically comes to every address in this zip code, like those coupon packs. I ended up scraping off the mailing label and took it straight to recycling so my neighbors wouldn't see. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not totally bashing queer neighborhoods. I realize it's a luxury to even have one to grouse about. I've always said I thought separatism and strength in numbers were good when you need them. It's a healing and strengthening phase. Some of the rural kids who move here desperately need this validation and support. But achieving a well-accessorized queer identity is only a phase, not a destination, end product, or utopia. And it's time we stop treating it as such. Urban gay ghettos may be really comfy and safe little scenes, but they are part of a decadent, mannerist, final phase before the movement shifts to something entirely different. It's already happening. The constant pride, boasting, and reaffirming of queer identity are all beginning to seem childishly obvious. You're here, you're queer, we're over it. When even Genre magazine runs an article titled, "We're so over the rainbow," you know something's up. The parades have gone from revolutionary to boring. And besides, the names are too long. The gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and friends show just does not roll off the tongue. All this pride and identity and culture and community, frankly, get in the way. They're awkward, clunky albatrosses, limiting concepts which simply don't work anymore. Witness gay men and lesbians coming out of the closet by admitting that they've fallen in love with and married heterosexuals of the opposite sex. And many were not even bisexual to begin with. It could happen to even the most devout Kinsey Six. If your hormones were powerful enough to make you break with the norms of heterosexual society, do you honestly think you could never fall for a person of the opposite sex? To paraphrase Tennessee Williams, a line is straight, a road may be straight, but the heart curves and curves. I don't want to be identified, named, pinned down, understood. These are the first steps towards control and manipulation. There are advantages of a more fluid alternative to what must seem like a morass of instability. If we aren't all just helpless slaves to our identity, it opens up this philosophical playroom for much more exciting possibilities like choice and freedom. These, then, in turn, necessitate exploration and articulation of values and responsibilities. Homosexuality's over. It was mainly a 20th century thing anyway, so let's leave it there. Time's up, kaput. Page me when we get our shit together and have a sex celebration parade or a Take Back the Body march. When we stop dividing and start joining together with others who recognize that Western culture is royally screwed when it comes to body, sex, spirit, sensuality, and pleasure, and gender. The issue isn't identity, it's ideology. It's about freedom, responsibility, and values.
Many parents are known to meddlesome in the relationships of their adult children, trying to add a little pressure, letting them know it's time to marry. And now, thanks to marriage equality, gay couples have the the good fun of dealing with parents who are trying to apply a little pressure. So this is really an interesting piece. Tim Murphy is really just a reporter, and he just goes around saying what this is like now, for gay and lesbian couples to have parents apply that not so subtle pressure. He starts off by saying, for the last year, Aaron Breslow, 23, an HIV project coordinator, has been dating Dan Scuderia, 26, an advertising executive. They have spent holidays with each other's families and enjoy searing scallops and making kale salads in their apartments in Brooklyn. They were mildly interested when New York lawmakers voted to allow same-sex marriage. And then Mr. Breslau's stepmother called. Quote, she congratulated me on gay marriage passing and said, "This is a great opportunity for you." But there's a problem. Mr. Breslow, who calls himself queer rather than gay, philosophically opposes marriage. "I don't understand the concept of legalized monogamy and normalcy," said Mr. Breslow, who has a brother, Jacob, also gay. "My brother and I both studied queer theory." His stepmother, Lorraine Gray, won't take no for an answer. "I don't have any girls," she said, and she's a psychotherapist in Oakland, California. Never mind that she also has two other sons, 18 and 22, who are straight. "My gay kids," she said, "are more fun than my straight ones." Now, being gay has downsides: social bias, discrimination, and homophobia, to name but three. But one blessing gay people have had was not having to endure pushy moms and some dads pestering them about when they're going to settle down and be married. With same-sex marriage now legal, some gay sons and daughters are starting to feel the same heat from parents as their straight siblings do. Parents are saying, "Oh, good. So you told me this was serious, and I've been supporting you, but now you can make it official." One parent seeking that official stamp is Vicki Robinson, 58, a physics professor. And ever since Governor Andrew Cuomo signed the same-sex marriage bill, Ms. Robinson has been nudging her 27-year-old daughter, Stephanie, to marry her girlfriend of 6 years, Lindsay. "I'm a Bible-thumping Lutheran who just got my church to put rainbow stickers on their door," said Ms. Robinson. "If they were married, I would feel more like I could write Lindsay's name in the family Bible in ink." But her daughter has refused to share her thoughts on marriage, so Ms. Robinson has taken to following her daughter's Twitter feed for signs of matrimonial chatter. I intercepted a Twitter tweet of my daughter's one day to a friend indicating that perhaps a wedding was on the horizon, she said. So I took my daughter and her girlfriend out to dinner and bought several rounds of martinis, and her partner happened to spill that they had discussed plans for a fall wedding. Nothing has been said, but that has not stopped Miss Robinson from planning the big day in her head. Lindsay is small and adorable, so I see her in a flapper thing in ivory silk with an overlapping handkerchief hem and a cloche, she said. My daughter is larger than Lindsay and very curvy, so I see her in an old-fashioned, off-the-shoulder wedding dress with a big skirt. Table settings and menus have also been considered. I see a lot of flowers and a string quartet with a band for dancing after, Miss Robinson added. The food would be fabulous and exotic, maybe something sort of Moroccan Middle Eastern. The new law has also created a wedge between same-sex partners. Now that marriage is an option, happily cohabitating couples are having to navigate new questions about commitment, monogamy, finances, and legal obligations that did not exist before. As for Mr. Aaron Breslow, the first guy that we started out with, as for Mr. Aaron Breslow and his marriage or bust stepmother, there might be some wiggle room after all. To appease her, Mr. Breslow is willing to entertain the notion of a wedding-like celebration, which he sees as a party to celebrate his relationship. I don't want a proper wedding, he said. I want it to be really queer and outrageous and angry, with a punk rock drag queen playing hardcore music and people being naked. His stepmother has a slightly different vision. It would be very sophisticated and urban. And I would do the food, which would be very foodie California, maybe a mix of Jewish, which we are, and Dominican, which Dan is. Everything would be lovely and sophisticated and not tacky. The couple would wear tuxedos, she added, and she would wear Prada. On second thought, the couple might want to consider eloping.
Way up there, there's a girl in the shadows, sitting still like a nun unknown. While an attic full of strangers may hold many hidden dangers, there's a quality I like. She's alone. So I pause and I wink and I shudder, just to bring her attention in line. Now her pastures may be greener, but I can tell by her demeanor she's mine. Oh, my mistake. You're not a woman. That's fine. I need a good-natured, old-fashioned, lesbian love story, the kind of tale my mama used to tell, where the girls were so sweet and the music would swell. Then in the end the queen would send the man off to hell. Where is that mild-mannered, old-fashioned, lesbian love story where people knew exactly who they were? The kind of story of yore that they don't sing anymore to an old-fashioned dyke like her. See this woman in the front? How she wants me. She's a bee I could free from the hive. I would never dare deceive her. She's a very clever beaver with a quality I like. She's alive. So I pause and I twitch in the silence, and I pray that she'll play out this hand. But I feel my intuition saying, notice her position, Start the band. She's clearly manned. Ugh. I planned a well-rendered, one-gendered, lesbian love story with good old-fashioned sex in every line, where girls with tattoos would whimper and whine, while on all fours you show me yours and I'll show you mine. I miss that soft-hearted, old-fashioned, lesbian love story where women wrestle theirs and passers-by. The kind of story so good that they don't tell in my hood to an old-fashioned dyke alike. I'm gorgeous, I'm single, I'm bustin' with laughs, so why can't I be just in 2 short paragraphs of a you betcha damn funny lesbian love story, the kind of yarn that turns a girl to mush? Choose from hundreds of blondes, but when shove comes to push, I understand a bird in hand's worth 2 in the bush. Sweet Jesus, let's hear that old-fashioned lesbian love story where girls are girls and boys stay out to sea. I'll write a new one and then I'll let them tell it again to an old-fashioned dyke like me.
Deep appreciation to both of you. Alexis and Shannon, thank you. You made our Valentines. Now, I was thinking there are different ways in which we can measure progress. And I recalled, my ministry started 40 years ago in New England. And this would not have been possible. Let me tell you, I guarantee. No. And so when we were a little bit down about how things are shaping up in our society, let's remember that, we are making progress, as evident here today. In closing, as promised, again, just to bookend this, some words by David Brooks. The person in love may think she or he is seeking personal happiness, but that's an illusion. He or she is really seeking fusion with another. If the shallow person lives in the smallness of his or her own ego, a person in love finds that the ultimate riches are not inside, they're out there in the beloved and in the sharing of a destiny with the beloved. A successful marriage is a 50-year conversation, getting ever closer and closer to melding of mind and heart. Love expresses itself in shared smiles and shared tears and ends with the statement, "Love you? I am you."
I don't know what's going work it out at all. Whatever made you choose me? I just can't believe my eyes. You look at me as though you couldn't bear to lose me. Now, no matter where I am, no matter what I do, I see your face appearing like an unexpected song that only we are hearing. I have never felt like this. For once I'm lost for words.
Your smile has really thrown me.
This is not like me at all. I never thought I'd know the kind of love you've shown me. Now, no matter where I am, no matter what I do, I see your face appearing like an unexpected song, an unexpected